Where do I start? I'm 45. It's always a good start. I'll go backwards. Yeah, I'm a proud Yarru, Gidja and Moran woman. East, West Kimberleys, West Arnhem Land. My mother and grandparents are all members of the stolen generation. I was the first black woman in federal parliament or into the Senate, to the upper house. Represented Australia in sports for 13 years. Was the first Aboriginal person to win Olympic gold. Second mum in history behind Shirley Strickland from the 56 Olympics to win Olympic gold. I've got 3 kids, which are all my little diamonds. Jessica, Destiny and Jack, and I've got a little grandson. So where I set the academy up in Darwin. So when I was sort of lured into Parliament, I left that behind. So it was a bit of a legacy that I'd left behind, but it was the setting up of, you know, the new beginnings of a lot of those girls. It's that planting of that seed to make people see that they are worthy, that they can contribute, that they've got a place of belonging in this country. You know, I sort of think that with Aboriginal people, there's so many people that's come to this country and they call it home, but they've come with an identity, their culture, their language, their religious beliefs, and they've been able to gel that into Australia, whereas Aboriginal people for 200 years, you know, we've been told not to speak your language, you know, assimilated, half-caste kids taken off their mothers and put into mission. So we can't just get over that part of history, you know, and when you unpackage a young kid's life, like my 12-year-old son, I keep going back to Jack, but yes, his mother was an Olympic gold medalist, but yes, his mother grew up in Housing Commission. Yes, that young boy's grandmother grew up on a mission, and his great-grandmother wore a Hessian bag, and his great-grandfather had chains around his neck, you know, as a stockman in the Kimberleys when he tried to take off and run away from the brutal mission life that he had. So when you unpack that, there's a lot of stigma to the history of our people. And that's why I think, you know, our resilience and the fact it's 2016 and we're still kicking around should be celebrated. And I want people to know that they are valued and respected. And I think, you know, I remember this young girl I was just talking to a couple of weeks ago, and she runs a youth program in Melbourne, and she was in the foster care system, and she went through the drugs and alcohol, had, you know, spent a couple of years in jail, and it was all about that identity. She said, I didn't know where I fitted in to this jigsaw puzzle of Australia, you know, and then when she found what she was looking for was actually deep within herself. You know, she went through a family history and now she feels good about it. And what she used was, I feel solid within myself. And I thought, you know, in 45 years for that young girl to say, I'm solid within myself and no one's going to break me. I think that's what we need to do to Aboriginal kids across this country.